morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. Following up on reports linking the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, with the 438 million naira contract awarded by the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Elevation, Dr. Betta Edu, to New Planet Project, a company the Interior Minister co-founded and is currently a significant shareholder. The minister, who was cited at the presidential villa on Tuesday following the controversy, had claimed on live television that he is no longer involved in the running of the firm, having resigned as a director in 2019.
The company in question was a company where I was a director. And about 5 years ago, I had resigned my directorship over 5 years ago.
You own the company?
Yes, I founded the company 15 years ago.
Because the document online shows
definitely
that yourself and your wife, isn't it?
I founded the company 15 years ago. But in 2019, when I got to the House of Representatives, when I won election, precisely, I did a change of, this is it, you can have a look at it. This is, you can see there.
That is a CSC document.
Certified true copy dated 2019, almost 5 years ago. I had resigned as director of the company. Is the company not entitled to bid for anything? I am not. I did it. I'm not Minister of Humanitarian. I'm Minister of Interior. This company can never work under Interior because that would be conflict of interest. That would be abuse of office. I never did that. So, and the company is a private entity. For me, I know there'll be a lot of pushbacks. And I'm saying this very clearly. This is not my first public office. I was member of the House of Reps. And as member of House of Reps, before I had resigned as a director.
Well, that was the interview that was trending on social media. I mean, there's so many things we got out of that information. The fact that he has owned, that he owns the company, and he's a significant shareholder of that company, by all its many laws. Well, the payments set to be made to the company, founded by the minister, include 279 million naira for the verification of beneficiaries on the National Social Register and an additional 159 million naira for the same purpose. The company, which was registered on March 3rd, 2009, still has the minister and his wife, Abimbola, listed on the CAC website as directors. This was the question that the anchor was asking. It shows that you are still directors. I mean, why did CAC not remove it since 2019, 5 years ago? In the meantime, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, back in 2020, named the Interior Minister, who was at the time a lawmaker and chairman of the House Committee for the NDDC, as one of the many National Assembly members who benefited from numerous NDDC contracts. Adeswagiwa Osage interviewed the minister for our Untold Story project as he tried to clarify the allegations.
So as NDDC chairman, there's a very infamous situation that happens when the former minister, now the Senate President, Akpabio, is speaking and you ask him to off his mic.
I never did.
It was not you?
I didn't preside because I recused myself.
You recused yourself?
So it was my deputy chairman.
It was your deputy chairman.
Who are even the greatest beneficiaries? It's two people now. Okay. Because if you look at your chairman,
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, that's okay.
The two chairmen can explain to you. That is why I was a member. I was a member of the NDDC committee.
It's okay.
Let me explain.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Let me explain.
It's okay.
You must not allow the two chairmen to handle the budget every year.
It's okay. Off your mic. It's okay. Off your mic, Honorable Minister.
Yes, of course, I always believe I come to equity and I come with clean hands. So I had nothing to hide. So when they said they were in cover, I said, okay, I recused myself so that we'll be able to say everything. It's only a man that has something to hide that will insist he needs to decide why he don't care.
I'm sure you all remember that off your mic scandal. At the time, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo recused himself from that committee so that the investigation could go on. But Akpabio at that time also clarified that, he made a mistake. But you could hear him there. He said that the chairman of that committee benefited from so many projects, which is the main issue. Let me take a tweet on social media. This is from Chris, who wrote, Minister Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo should be suspended as part of the ongoing investigation. 1. Minister Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo claims he is no longer a signatory to the account of New Planet Projects Limited, which got a whopping 338 million naira from Dr. Betta Edu, is not acceptable. 2. His wife is a director of the company. 3. He also remains a key shareholder and person of significant influence. 4. It is alleged that Bumi Ojo colluded with Betta Edu to divert more than £500 million naira to himself, of which a significant amount relates to consultancy fees. 5. If his activities are properly investigated, you can be assured that he will also have awarded a contract to Betta Edu from his ministry in return, or Betta Edu will benefit indirectly from his millions. Young ministers cut deals and embarrass the youth. 6. We are not calling for his suspension for being a signatory to the company's account. Instead, we are calling for his resignation in case of a conflict of interest. 7. It is also evident he has used his position to influence his company to get the contract. 8. We are also calling for an investigation to unravel dealings in Betta Edu's schemes that have not yet been discovered and possible prosecution. 9. The only way to guarantee a fair investigation is for him to resign or be suspended. 10. We acknowledge his current efforts in the government. However, corrupt individuals must be dealt with decisively. Making an effort to make our passport issuance system better is not an excuse for being corrupt. He is only doing his job as a minister. I think Chris put all the concerns of Nigerians in that one tweet. He made mention of so many things, which for me, the most important is that idea of conflict of interest. Because you could hear Bumi in that interview saying, how can I be awarding contracts? That contract will not work under the Ministry of Interior because it will be a conflict of interest. There is no difference at this point. Dr. Abati, really quickly.
Okay, there are rules and regulations in the books. It is just that, unfortunately, in Nigeria, nobody respects those rules. They are often, observed in the breach to such an extent that it almost becomes standard practice for government officials to break the law. Now, in this particular case, earlier on I talked about influence peddling of corrupt influence. Mm-hmm. If you are a minister and you are using your position to get contracts for a company for which you are associated, with which you are associated. Yeah, he said he resigned in 2019, but his wife is there. He's still the biggest shareholder. If you probably check the other shareholders will probably be his children, his cousins, relatives of his wives. And then all of a sudden, this new planet company is now truly in a new planet in charge of major government contracts.
It's been existing for years. They've been doing a lot of government
new planet project, but now they are in a new planet. Well, if you like, universe. So these are issues for the investigators to look into. And it's not enough for him to say, I'm just a shareholder, I'm not a director. No. The position that he occupies places him in a position where he can peddle influence. And if he says he's still a shareholder, what the Code of Conduct Law says, sections 5 and 6, is that once you have a public position, you leave some of these other engagements. You are only allowed to be a farmer, and to the best of our knowledge, New Planet Project Limited is not a farming outfit. It's a consultancy contract doing project. So in that regard, there's an issue to be raised. The other kind of law that is not looked at is Public Procurement Act. That is also routinely violated by government officials. Now, this Public Procurement Act stipulates how people can get contracts. How did he get the contract from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs or other contracts? Was it through open tender? Who were the other people? What was approved for him at the end of the day? We're talking about just one project, contract, review of social register. Are there also other contracts involved? Then, of course, each of these ministries are supposed to have internal auditing processes. That has also failed in many of these ministries. That's why a minister can just say, go and put this money in this person's account. Abandonment of financial regulations. Financial Regulation 1709 in particular, we seem to apply. So you have these breaches all over the system. But what is important, the challenge that many Nigerians, not just the gentleman whose demands you listed, the Young Progressive Party and also the People's Democratic Party, they are both saying also that, look, suspend the minister to allow for proper investigation so that, nobody tampers with the process of investigation. And, some people even go a step further and say, look, some of these ministers should begin to submit their letters of resignation. Because the TINUBU administration has an obligation to protect its integrity.
Yes.
Particularly as there are doubts about the president's personal commitment, despite the fact that his campaign manifesto talked about fighting and tackling corruption. So this is a major test for his administration. Look at it. The head of the Social Investment Agency, the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, the Minister of the Interior, the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. This is one of such moments when the president has to be decisive.
Right.
And I had made the point that no president takes bullets for his employees. It's the employees that should take bullets for the president. If it comes to that, let the people who will take the bullets, so that President TINUBU can use this opportunity to make a statement. But the authorities must do so in a fair manner. Nobody should be victimized for an offense that they have not committed.
I mean, my biggest issue, Ayo, is that disregard for processes. We're seeing here 438 million naira used to review social register. What was the how did they account for that? Let me just take this story before I come to you. In another development, the presidency has reacted to the word, or retracted the word, dismissal, used to describe the removal of former FCCPC CEO Babatunde Irukera and BPEDG Alexander Oko, who on Tuesday were directed by the presidency to hand over to the next most senior officer at their agencies, pending the appointment of new chief executive officers. Bayo Ononuga, in a statement on Tuesday, said the president's directive did not intend to use the word dismissal, but that the two men who have served the country were relieved of their duties as the president scouts for their successors. In the meantime, according to the Federal Protection and Competition Act 2018, as it concerns setting up the FCCPC, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu may have erred in law in his decision to remove Irukera without resorting to the Senate. The section dealing with removal from office in the Act states that once a good case is established against any commissioner or the head of the organization, the exercise of the powers of the president under the relevant section must be subject to the approval of the upper chamber. Disregard for processes. We need to keep calling out these issues. Absolutely. Now, we just saw in the news, I even heard word that Irukera did not find out about his dismissal. And that's another point that I have to make. His dismissal, I only heard it in the news. So we're seeing that it was supposed to follow due process. He didn't follow due process. And he didn't even get a phone call. This is what we are seeing here, Rufai.
That's why President Tinubu must make atonement. I am happy they have started with what Bayo Ononuga said, because that word was very harsh. It was libelous, like we've been able to establish. You can't just say dismiss, then what's the offense and all of that. So, but the man has taken it in good faith. His work speaks for him.
Yes, we read his tweet yesterday.
I got a chance to have personal interaction with him afterwards. He's taken it in good faith. His word speaks for him. It's the beginning of another thing. Irukera is a known lawyer in this country that constantly fights for consumer rights. And we all know, that's why when people see Babatunde Irukera taking on top multinationals, and they look and say, who is this man? I say, you don't know his antecedents. He was the one that took on big pharmaceutical giants in this country.
Yes.
And he got results. And he had been the life and the soul of this competition department. And he has done a very good job, a very stellar job. So, like Dr. Abati was saying earlier on, they all serve at the pleasure of the president. If the president doesn't want to make it, it's the president's prerogative. But we need to do things right.
Right.
So it's not the end of the world for him. It's just a beginning for another phase in his life. We just need to state that. And concerning the hitherto case, yes, President Tinubu has made a very good stance as regards suspending the minister. But like I said yesterday, President Tinubu's government stinks with this corruption. It's an indictment on him. In a fell swoop, 2 ministers, less than how many months? That's why I'm happy about his action he's taking. It's a deep one. And when people will talk about it even more, will be during the electoral season. And that's why Mr. Olubunmi Ojo, and I also say this on live television,
yes,
whoever advised you to go on television to start a defense you had no solid position about, just roasted you alive. And it has to be said, whoever advised you roasted you alive. Because you see, you were making arguments that were not great enough, that were not substantiated. You could hear yourself.
You're contradicting.
They were contradicting.
Yes.
You're saying you're a shareholder in a company. And also, the case of that NDDC must be investigated. Because we just swept that case under the carpet. Today, Akpabio is Senate President. And we can't just say a case like that are just off your mind. And guess what? I'll also talk about the NDDC.
Yes.
There's been a white paper released. The government should act on that white paper. They have finished the investigation. It was revealed many things happened in that white paper. They should be clear with people as regards that white paper, because we can't just allow brazen corruption go. And for those that are saying, yeah, he's done good, he's done well, he's done that and all of that, I keep citing this. It's confirmed that somebody is an armed robber. He kills people for a living. But in the end, the person also does charity. Will you say all the people's life that the person killed does not matter?
Yeah, impossible.
Because the person does charity.
Absolutely impossible.
No, he was just doing his job as a minister.
Like that Twitter user.
And we appreciate him for doing his job. But, you know, the Yorubas have been if he doesn't do, another person will do.
Let's
So,
give
give
Ion the floor. Conflict of interest.
Earlier I was saying that, and I still stand by the fact that I thought he'd done quite well as a minister. And I feel it's disheartening to see that he's involved in such a scandal. Of course, investigations are still ongoing, and until we see the full report or outcome of that report, we cannot make conclusions on him. I do agree, though, that in terms of consequences, if he's found culpable, he ought to face the penalties for this, so that we're setting a good example and precedence. I think just the sadness is that we don't often see ministers who work well. So, let me use your example of the armed robber who maybe didn't kill people. Armed robber stealing from people. If it's that it's only the armed robber that is working, the people that are not armed robbers are not working. You will always say that, please come and do the work. But just still small. That's on a lighter note. Because at the end of the day, we have to investigate everybody, you know, and see whose hands are really clean. Because the one that we're calling Star Boy does not look like Star with a little.
It can be true.
That armed robber narrative will probably be Robin Hood.
Yes, he was stealing.
That's a good one.
But let me just say something.
But under the common law, he was a thief.
He was a hero to the poor people. So maybe he's a hero.
So no, this is very different, because that 438 million naira could have been given to the...
That means that if you wanted to break it down, 36 states and one and FCT, he was spending 11.8 million naira per state.
Come on.
I would love to see the tender process, because let's see how much the other contractors tendered in terms of how much to execute the project, and see who was the better person or the best person for the job. On the website of the NPP, New Planet Project, they say that one of the advantages is the fact that they are cost effective. So they provide cost effective solutions. So we want to justify that cost effective solution.
So you should grab it more.
Exactly. We're saying that you should have found 438 million.
Okay, we're talking about armed robbers and Robin Hood.
Would you also go and establish a consultancy company?
No. I am only here
with
to
all
do
your
my job.
with all your connections. With all your connections.
But we do things right. We don't make mistakes.
National Consultancy Services.
Okay, you guys have too much fun here. Well, let's talk. You talked about Robin Hood. Let's head over to